Ever wondered how savvy real estate decisions can be the key to unlocking a future of financial freedom? Truth be told, real estate investing stands as an enduring pillar of financial empowerment, offering individuals the potential to not only build wealth, but to secure a tangible stake in the journey towards financial freedom. This is Unlocking Financial Freedom, Real Estate Insights. Keep watching. A brand new episode of You and Your Money starts now.
You and Your Money is brought to you by 𝗪𝗧𝗡𝗡𝗘𝗧, Bahamas.
Welcome to You and Your Money, everyone. Joining us today to talk about market trends and analysis is the CEO, broker, and real estate expert of 𝗪𝗧𝗡𝗡𝗘, Bahamas, Mr. Matt Sweeting. Matt, welcome to the show.
Good to be here with you. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Now, Matt, as we get this conversation started, I just want us to touch on what does 𝗪𝗧𝗡𝗡𝗘 stand for?
I'm glad you asked. People often ask, what does it have to do with? We have no oak trees here in the Bahamas, right? You know, I've been in real estate 18 years now, and going throughout that, I've become fascinated with customer service. And so the 𝗪𝗧𝗡𝗡𝗘 actually stands as an acronym for one of a kind. And we aim to offer one of a kind service to the customers we serve, but also the agents that work with us as well.
So what are the current trends in the local real estate market, and how do they compare to broader regional or national trends?
Yeah. So we've been experiencing what we consider a seller's market. And seller's market is defined as when there's little inventory and high demand. That is what we've been in for, the foreseeable past, for as long as we know. And what this means is that the indications of this is that when a property comes to market, if it's priced appropriately, it usually sells very quickly. Currently right now, just at the turn of the year, we have 2 properties where we're in multiple offer situations, right? So we got 10 offers on a listing that came to market less than 10 days ago. And then another property with 4 or 5 offers. And so this is an indication that there's a lot of buyers out there and very little demand. That's a trend that's happening in a lot of places around the world. But again, the Bahamas, and more specifically New Providence, has this interesting dynamic of this huge population with not a lot of new real estate coming to market.
So it's interesting that you touched on, the quick turnaround time that people may experience. Some person will be like, I'm not sure about the turnaround time. But let's talk a little bit about how have the economic factors, such as the interest rates and the job markets, influenced recent changes in real estate pricing as well as the demand? Yeah.
So the Central Bank of the Bahamas just recently made an adjustment as it relates to how mortgage indemnity works within financial institutions. This marks, relatively speaking, a new day, as it were, in the banking sector, because this then allows a number of financial institutions to offer what could be a lower down payment or a lower barrier to entry for a number of people looking to purchase real estate. Now, the reality of this is, though, that while the central bank has made the adjustment and given financial institutions the ability to adjust, a number of the financial institutions still have to weigh that on a risk ratio for themselves and determine whether they will make that application or not. There might be a likelihood that a number of financial institutions will not adjust just because it does not meet their risk criteria. And on the other hand, some financial institutions are already receiving a 5% down payment. And so this is interesting for the Bahamas. I think the Bahamas government has made a number of strides towards helping people own real estate. Within the last 2 years, they've adjusted how value-added tax, which formerly was stamp tax, is paid on a real estate transaction. And so it was some set numbers before. Now it's on a sliding scale depending on the price of the purchase.
We definitely see, based on those adjustments, it being more possible, just like how you said, for persons to access real estate and own a piece of the rock. Now, are there specific areas or types of properties experiencing more significant growth or decline? And what would you say are the factors that contribute to these patterns?
Well, what we've seen as a trend is that the younger professional or professionals throughout the gamut are looking to get into properties that have built-in security. And so over the last, I would say 5 to 7 years, as crime has steadily increased in the Bahamas and is now a hot topic here, people are looking specifically for properties that are maybe gated, right? The younger demographic is still preferring to live in the West as opposed to the East. And condo developments as well has increased in terms of interest, in terms of sales, because people want to get away from having to maintain their properties themselves.
Now, in the context of market trends, how do external factors like the global economy or technological advancements impact the local real estate landscape?
Yeah. Well, technology has been big for real estate. It has changed largely the dynamic. I've become fairly popular, as it were, on the local scene for using TikTok to sell real estate, right? We've been able to connect with buyers doing virtual tours in a very innovative way to help us to see real estate. And almost in some instances, I've had a number of cases like this where people have bought or committed to buy real estate without actually seeing it themselves. And so technology has been had a major play in real estate over the last, I would say, 5 to 7 years, and has impacted us positively.
For the person that's actually saying, I'm going to go ahead and purchase just by seeing it virtually, I mean, that's a whole other level, right? Saying the level of trust that's actually there, having to commit to saying, you know something, I've seen it based on what it is that you show me, and I believe that I'm going to get this thing.
Right.
Now, for potential buyers, how can understanding market analysis empower them to make better informed decisions about when and where to invest in real estate?
Yeah. This is a good question because, again, oftentimes what people are doing is they're just jumping in without the education. And I think education's the start. When we talk about market analysis, what comes to mind for me is you need to consider how does this purchase or a purchase you're considering play into the long-term goal that fits for you and your family, right? And so if the goal was to have a few more children, right, and have this be an investment that you could either draw equity from or sell, well, then the question is going to be, does the neighborhood and the appreciation or supposed depreciation of that neighborhood fit into that long-term plan, right? So there's some neighborhoods within New Providence that there's some indications that it's on the decline. What is crime like? How many derelict homes are in the area? What is flooding like? Where is it located? Are the buyers in this market looking to move out of this area or move into this area? All of these factors, when you give them close consideration, could answer whether this is the right purchase for you right now or not.
Yeah, that's definitely a whole lot to consider especially when you think about the level of investment that it's going to require for somebody to say that they're going to invest in a home. This is probably one of the most, the heaviest decision that somebody would probably have to come to make in terms of investment. Matt, we have to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to look at buy versus rent dilemma. This is You and Your Money. We'll be right back.
The 33rd Bahamas Business Outlook is coming up Thursday, January 25th at Bahamas Convention Center. Join us as we discuss the theme, Future Bahamas, Branding the National Identity, Planning for Success. Keynote address by the Honorable Philip Davis, Prime Minister. Speakers include John Roll, Governor, Central Bank of the Bahamas, Amber Carey, Vice President, Cable Bahamas and Alive's Customer Solutions and Marketing, Dr. James Ferrento, Vice President, Medical Affairs, Doctors Hospital, Dr. Hilary Becker, Associate Professor, Sprott School of Business, Carleton University, Jennifer Gordon, Director, Future Edge, Carleton University. Special panels include a tourism panel with 𝗵𝗂 Director General of Tourism, Joy Jibrilu, CEO, Nassau Paradise Island Promotion Board, Prince Raming, Territory Leader and Tax Leader, PricewaterhouseCoopers Bahamas. A business panel with Gowan Bowe, CEO, Fidelity Bank Bahamas, Timothy Ingram, CEO, Bahamas Chamber of Commerce, an environmental panel with Dr. Rihanna Neely Murphy, Director, Department of Environmental Protection and Planning. Carlos Palacios, Principal of Braun Limited. A culture panel with Dr. Dion Cunningham, Bahamian pianist and educator. John Cox, Art Director of the Current Gallery, Bahamas. And Emmanuel Gibson, Executive Chef and owner of Manuela's. Don't miss this valuable networking opportunity. Register now at tclevents.com or call us at 322-7505 6. That's Bahamas Business Outlook, Thursday, January 25th.
Welcome back to You and Your Money. Still here with us is the CEO, broker, and real estate expert with ONEOK Bahamas. And in this segment, we'll be discussing buy versus rent dilemma. Matt, tell us, what are the key factors that individuals should consider when deciding between buying and renting a property, especially in the current market conditions?
Well, some of the things that they would want to consider is, do I have all of the ducks in a row to make a purchase happen today, right? Again, this all comes back to what are your long-term life plans, right? So when I had this discussion before, some of the thoughts that come to mind is, well, maybe you have the ambition of moving away in the next 5 to 7 years. And if you were to purchase a property here, how possible would it be to resell that property when you decided to make your departure, right? One of the thoughts that comes to mind for me is when we have this buy or rent discussion, is I'm hard pressed to think of scenarios if someone plans to live in a country forever where buying should not be the long-term goal. I always think that should be the vision, because again, what it does is it hedges you against appreciation. People often talk about a hedge against inflation. But if you were to continue to rent, and we're seeing this to a great degree right now, a one bedroom that would have been $750, $600, $500 is now $1,000 to $1,200 property. With you staying on the rental market, when the year changes, like it is right now, a lot of landlords are going to their tenants and saying, hey, I'm going to adjust the rent. Either like it or lump it, right? You could move out if you don't want to pay this rent. And the market is of such right now where you can very easily find tenants. And so when you buy a property, you've locked in a price and you've locked in a mortgage rate, largely the case. And so what you've done is hedged against appreciating values on the rental and sale market.
So how do the economic trends, such as the interest rates and the property values, influence the decision to buy or rent?
Yeah, so this is a big factor. I find it interesting that my colleagues in the States speak a lot about interest rates. Matter of fact, there's talk of interest rates coming down over the next couple of months, and there's going to be a purchasing boom in the United States. This is a less of a discussion here. And I think it's largely in part based on what we talked about earlier, that there's just so much demand. And so Bahamians aren't generally, in my opinion, very interest conscious, right? We are not holding off on purchases, waiting for interest rates to come down. Our interest rates have generally been within the same couple of percentage points for the last few years, but property values have changed considerably. Now, when you combine these two together, what this means is that my $1,000 a week salary that might have been able to purchase me a home for $300,000 now can't get me that. And so I might have to delay, I might have to develop a side hustle or a side business to create that additional income to now purchase the kind of home that I want. And so when you combine these two together, it really changes the dynamic of your debt service ratio, or how much house you could afford.
Yeah, definitely it's a conversation about how much house I can afford and being able to do so where you can sleep at night, right? Now, can you share with us some success stories or some cautionary tales related to individuals who made a choice between buying and renting and the impact that it had on their financial well-being?
Yeah. There's a story that comes to mind of a gentleman who, and this connected to what we talked about earlier, Ria, where you have to really think about how the purchase that you're making today plays into your long-term plan. So there's a past client of mine who tells a story of purchasing a lot in a gated community when he was younger, right? And so he was a hotelier at the time. He was qualified to purchase a lot, but was not qualified to build, right? So let's assume he bought the lot for $125,000 in a gated community that, interestingly enough, had depreciation. A lot of people are under the impression that land never depreciates. That's what Grammy say.
Yes.
But Grammys be wrong sometimes. and so this development took a hit. So he now lost the ability to even sell, right? So he was stuck with this lot, stuck with this mortgage payment, and still having to rent, and unable to sell this lot.
Wow.
So now he's stuck in this position for a while, waiting on the market to catch back up with him or his financial situation to change, so that he could be able to build this house that he had this big vision of building. It's a story of, and he talks about how this set him back so far that it likely changed his financial trajectory. There's another story of a friend of mine, a childhood friend of mine, who over the last year or two purchased a triplex that required renovation. Repos is what he got. And so repo opportunities are great opportunities to look into. But he got a property that we probably end up after renovation, maybe at about $200,000. I think he has a mortgage of somewhere between $1,500 and $1,700 a month. And we just talked about it a few days ago that he's now generating $2,750 a month from this property. So he's cash flowing every month. And listen to this, he's still living with his mother. He's chosen he's chosen not to live in the property he purchased, and to be able to bank all that money. And so if he pays his maximum principal payment every month, and he does that all year, he could knock that mortgage out in record time. And now that positions him to have real estate free and clear and be able to get on to his next purchase, which is his ambition. And so again, that is a guy that's doing it right. But that requires some discipline. It requires a lot of sacrifice to own real estate, not only real estate, but a triplex, and still live home with mommy.
Yeah, but I think also too, it requires a whole lot of education in terms of him even understanding that, something I could be able to get this extra cash flow and still be able to apply that to the principal so that I can knock down this mortgage in record time. In what ways does the cultural perception of home ownership affect the buy versus rent decision? And how has this perception evolved over time?
Yeah, I find this interesting because I think what we see is that there's a stigma around renting. And we see, the word that comes to mind for me is spinster. We haven't heard, that word is not popular to a large of a degree as it was in times past, right? And this referred to a lady possibly in her 30s, late 20s in some cases, that was unmarried. I think now what we're experiencing is that same stigma around housing, right? Because there's an expectation in your late 20s, definitely in your 30s, and most definitely in your 40s, that you should have a home. This cultural expectation drives people to want to, by all means necessary, find home. I think what stops us from doing it oftentimes is the lack of discipline that home ownership does require, and delayed gratification. Generally speaking, there's a disclaimer, Bahamians are immediate gratification people, right? We make $100 today and we won't spend $120 tomorrow. And so I think that what I've seen as a unique characteristic or an outlying characteristic among people that have purchased property, and we do a lot of transactions a year, we see that these people have the ability to delay gratify, and they have the discipline to save. Because you're requiring anywhere between $15,000 to $25,000 in savings to get entry-level property. And so this requires some discipline.
A whole lot of discipline. Matt, we have to take another break. When we get back, we're going to talk about empowering through education. This is You and Your Money. We'll be right back.
The 33rd Bahamas Business Outlook is coming up Thursday, January 25th at Bahamas Convention Center. Join us as we discuss the theme, Future Bahamas, Branding the National Identity, Planning for Success. Keynote address by the Honorable Philip Davis, Prime Minister. Speakers include John Roll, Governor, Central Bank of the Bahamas; Amber Carey, Vice President, Cable Bahamas and Alive's Customer Solutions and Marketing; Dr. James Ferrento, Vice President, Medical Affairs, Doctors Hospital; Dr. Hilary Becker, Associate Professor, Sprott School of Business, Carleton University; Jennifer Gordon, Director, Future Edge, Carleton University. Special panels include a tourism panel with 𝗪𝗓𝗥𝗏𝗧𝗏, Director General of Tourism; Joy Jibrilu, CEO, Nassau Paradise Island Promotion Board; Prince Raming, Territory Leader and Tax Leader, PricewaterhouseCoopers Bahamas. A business panel with Gowan Bowe, CEO, Fidelity Bank Bahamas; Timothy Ingram, CEO, Bahamas Chamber of Commerce. An environmental panel with Dr. Rihanna Neely Murphy, Director, Department of Environmental Protection and Planning; Carlos Palacios, Principal of Braun Limited. A culture panel with Dr. Dion Cunningham, Bahamian pianist and educator; John Cox, Art Director, The Current Gallery, Bahamas; and Emmanuel Gibson, Executive Chef and owner of Manuela's. Don't miss this valuable networking opportunity. Register now at tclevents.com or call us at 322-7505 6. That's Bahamas Business Outlook, Thursday, January 25th.
Welcome back to You and Your Money. The CEO, broker, and real estate expert with One Oak Bahamas, Mr. Matt Sweeting, is still with us. In the previous segments, we spoke about market trends and analysis, as well as buy versus rent dilemma. In this segment, I want us to talk about empowering through education. Matt, how can financial literacy and real estate education empower individuals to make informed decisions about their housing options and investments?
It'll be a game changer if we found a way to instill financial literacy education and, by extension, real estate, maybe in school, do something thereafter, maybe in college, to help people to really understand the importance of how to manage money, how to save, how to be disciplined. We talked about delayed gratification before the break. These are the things that are going to be so important. From my own experience, it takes us a decade and change, oftentimes, to figure these things out on our own. And so if my children, who are just coming out of grade 11 now, learned about these things, and I could tell from their ability to save, because I was not a saver, that when they get their money, they find a way to get rid of that immediately. And that habit haunts a lot of us, even into our adulthood, that we don't have the ability to have money in our account and not spend it. And so I think it would be a game changer if our education system was adjusted to include financial literacy in real estate.
Now, what are some of those common misconceptions or myths about real estate that could be dispelled through effective education?
One of the things I think people often make the mistake on is, do I need to get a mortgage from where my salary goes, from the financial institution that my salary goes? That is a common misconception. People are not aware that oh, I can go to another bank to get a mortgage, that how much money it actually takes to make a real estate transaction happen. That would be extremely helpful, because oftentimes we have a lot of people who want to start the process. Hey, I love this home, can I go out and see it? But you don't have the dollars that it requires to make the real estate transaction happen. Oftentimes, people might choose the wrong legal representative. And by wrong, obviously you want them to be Bahamas Bar Association approved, but if the attorney that you're choosing for your real estate transaction specializes in litigation, which means that he represents criminals at the courts, Is he going to be in office to handle your matters, right? And obviously that requires some interviewing to determine the right attorney for you. But questions like this could be answered through education. If people spend some time learning about real estate before jumping into it, I think it would be tremendously helpful.
In what ways would you say can educational initiatives help individuals understand the long-term benefits and the risks associated with real estate transactions?
Yeah, when you look at the trajectory of someone who rents for a long period of time or someone who purchases, and we deal with it many, many times where descendants, inheritance, children are reselling, renting the investments of their parents. Or the alternative is the parent died without a will, and so a probate has to happen, and there's a fight about who owns it, or there's nothing to give at all. These, for me, represent these cautionary tales of what could happen if you were not responsible. If you're not responsible, there's a strong likelihood that the people you love are going to be out of house and home, that all of your work ended up being nothing. And so education around financial literacy, around real estate, around investments is going to change your legacy. And that's what I love about what we do in real estate, is because every time I help, and we've had a couple of exciting stories recently where we've helped people purchase their first home. And I love the first home story because it to be a part of something that has such a lasting effect has innumerable value to me, where we're helping generations essentially change the trajectory of their lives.
Matt, you have so much information to share with us, but I want us to talk about, well, as a matter of fact, just be able to give us, or those persons that's watching, how can they get in contact with you in the event that they want to go ahead and reach out to you so that you can be that partner with them?
Thank you, Ria. My contact is 808-6868. Feel free to WhatsApp me anytime. To my wife's chagrin, my WhatsApp status says always available to talk real estate. You could email me, matt@oneoakbahamas.com, or visit our website, oneoakbahamas.com.
Well, Matt, thank you for joining me on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Decisions made today in real estate can shape our financial future. Whether you're a seasoned investor or a first-time home buyer, with the right knowledge, real estate can be your key to lasting financial success. Thank you for joining us on this journey as we explored market trends, tackled the buyers versus rent dilemma, as well as stressed the importance of real estate education. Until next time, educate yourself, make informed decisions, and let your property work for your wealth. Here are our dollars and cents snapshots from this week's show. Number 1, invest wisely. Consider real estate as a strategic investment for long-term financial growth and stability. Research market trends and analyze potential areas for growth. Number 2, educate yourself. Take advantage of real estate education to make informed decisions. Understand the market, financing options, and legal aspects to empower yourself in the world of real estate. Number 3, plan for the future. Explore real estate as a means of building generational wealth. Strategically plan your investments to ensure a prosperous and secure financial future. If you want to know more how you can be a guest on this show, you can send me an email to ria@riacristina.com with the subject line Next Guest. That's it for today's show. Don't forget to follow You and Your Money on Facebook and tune in next week for a brand new episode. I'm Ria Cristina. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.